Today in the Diz List, we share 5 underrated attractions at Walt Disney World.
Welcome to the Diz List, the podcast that lists everything in Walt Disney World. I'm Nick.
And I'm Rob, and welcome to episode 96, where we share 5 underrated attractions at Walt Disney World.
There's a lot of shows that we have done that I look back on and I'm like, oh, that was a fun show. And I thought we had done this show.
I thought we had done it too.
Because we had someone request that we do it. And I was like, yeah, we did it early. And they were like, well, can you direct me to that episode? I was like, yeah, no problem. I'll look back.
I would have done the same thing.
And so I scrolled through and I was like, I wrote them back. I was like, never mind.
Wait, where is it?
And then I was like, it's episode 96.
Yeah.
You don't have 96. Yeah, I know. That's my bad.
Yeah.
I screwed up.
It's here today.
It is what it is.
And this is a weird one, too. Before we start, not only did my list change so many different times, like when I was texting with you yesterday, it was still rearranging, and it rearranged again this morning because I have to put myself in a different mindset here. It's underrated by whom? Me? Is it underrated by your average fan? Is it? And then I have to think of, okay, what do I hear about all the time? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Is Small World underrated? Now, I mean, maybe it's on your list, maybe it isn't. But my point is, people talk about it all the time, and it's a very well-known one. So it's hard for me because so many things are talked about so frequently, and so many things are so good, and everybody knows about them.
I built my list based on what are rides that I feel that casual Disney fans skip.
Okay.
That's kind of what they're like, that's not going to be. And they shouldn't. You know, things that I would tell somebody who's going, you really do need to do this. I know you don't think you do, but you really do.
Okay.
That's what I did it based on for the most part.
I don't know how much our lists are going to be the same.
I don't know.
I'm curious because not that I took a different approach, but there's so many different options here. It's not like fastest roller coaster.
So I don't know that this ride that I'm about to mention is on either one of our lists.
Okay.
But I think it's something we should talk about and address in this opening. And that is Journey into Imagination.
Yeah, which we talk about pretty frequently on the show.
So last week, we said, or you said, they're going to do something with Figment. And I said, no, they're not.
Yeah.
And you said, yes, they are.
This isn't an I told you so moment. This is like...
No.
Yeah.
You said, yes, they are. And I was like, okay, whatever. I said, I highly doubt it. And then about 30 minutes after our episode dropped.
Yeah, because I think it was Wednesday when you came in my classroom.
Whenever it was right after. We had already recorded last week's episode, and I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
So they announced that, or they didn't announce, but somebody found permits that had been filed for pretty extensive construction at Journey into Imagination. The Imagination Pavilion. It doesn't say Journey into Imagination.
Right.
But the permit is for, like, usually permits are for a year.
Yeah.
And this permit is actually longer. And so it seems like they have knowledge of how extensive whatever they're doing is going to be.
Yeah.
And it's by a company that is a general construction company. And that's what the permit is, general construction. It's not an Imagineering company, but it's a company that they've worked with in the past. Yeah. So I just wonder what they possibly could do.
I mean, I think we can do a whole Patreon episode on what I think we can do. So
yeah,
why don't we do that?
Sure.
And then, maybe it'll be out by the time we're doing this episode. Will it be?
No,
it'll be next week.
It'll be next week.
All right, we'll do it next week.
But we can definitely do a Patreon on it. I just think it's going to be interesting. They've got a lot of stuff that if they're announcing stuff about Journey into Imagination, not announcing, but if they're filing permits for that now, I wonder what else has been greenlit that we just don't know about.
I think, and this is a big one, I think they're just saying they're doing these little announcements like we're doing Test Track. That's something that they could announce in August. We're redoing well, they haven't announced they're doing Imagination, but they're dropping all these things that are just like casually saying, hey, we're redoing all of Dino Land USA, right?
Yeah.
Normally, all this stuff is reserved for August. So I believe.
I know.
Yeah, you know what I'm going to say.
Go ahead.
I believe in August they're going to make a huge announcement. And look, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm gonna play my hand and say they're going to announce another park.
I disagree, but I hope I'm wrong.
I think with Epic Universe and this amount of money that we have seen for investing, that they will announce something. And I don't think it needs to even be anything huge, because if you look at the amount of attractions that are in Animal Kingdom, it's not a lot, right? And they kind of lived on the fact that it was a half-day park. If you look at Universal talking about opening this kids park in Texas, right?
Yeah.
Smaller kind of thing, right? I think it could even be a smaller park. I mean, it could be something.
Do you think it'd be in Orlando?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And I mean, we learned that there was the option for land to be developed into a park.
I mean, that's old news. I mean,
Right.
That's
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But that's been established that it is there if they want to do it.
Oh, sure there are. There's
So,
plenty of spots.
I'm saying that's going to happen. If I'm wrong, that's okay. I'll eat it. But I think that this is why. And my reasonings are that they're dropping stuff casually that is big news. And huge news is going to come at D23.
That is something that makes me take pause with outright saying you are a fool, right? I've told you before. I think it's about a 5% shot that's what we get in August. I still believe it's 5%, but the reason I even put 5% is because they're giving us these little tidbits here and there. Like, we knew last year they were going to redo Test Track. They told us that.
Yeah.
And now GM, and them are partnering, and they're doing that. That's great. We did not hear anything about Imagination except for, we're going to have a Figment meet and greet. So I think it's the amazing amount of merch that they sell for that. They've got to do something. They got to refresh that.
Yeah,
and I think that's
exactly what I
fair.
was just going to say. Because if you look at Epcot merchandise, Figment has really become the mascot of that entire park. He's on everything.
Either that or Orange Bird, one of the two.
Yeah, Orange Bird to a lesser degree. I would say if you were to do a ratio of Figment merch versus Orange Bird merch, it would be 5-1, 4-1. Still a pretty hefty margin.
I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure, because every festival, Orange Bird is prominently featured on apparel.
If we go all time, Orange Bird has really only been
okay. Yeah,
but they've leaned into him forever. Bringing in Orange Bird, great. I'm not saying you're wrong about that. Orange Bird definitely has, and he has a name. It's oh my gosh,
I didn't even know that.
Well, maybe Orange Bird is one of the Orange Birds is Chubby.
Yeah, but I don't think
that's a character from one of the movies, though.
Yeah.
Maybe Orange Bird is literally just called Orange Bird, but one of them I think is called Chubby.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's just Orange Bird, but yeah.
Let us know what Chubby is an Orange Bird from what, folks. Send us a message. Let us know.
Yeah, I can't remember that either. So we got that news, or not news, but like it was basically leaked that, or somebody found a permit. And then I have been hearing increasingly in the rumor mills that are Disney influencer, Disney creator world. When I've posted stuff about Tiana's, I have increasingly heard the same date come up, and I'm wrong according to this date, but I still think that there's a potential that some of the previews will be going on when I said it would be, but I think we're both going to get to ride, potentially, as long as it's out of previews. I'm hearing that they are going to open it on June 19th.
Right.
Now, I don't know that for a fact, but that's what I've heard.
I'm assuming you saw the most recent video with Mama Odie and
oh my goodness.
Yeah. Where they have the extra super
singing.
trays. Oh my gosh. Oh. If you haven't seen it, Disney Parks, I believe, put it out. It's an official one.
Yeah, it's an official one.
And it is the actress who plays Mama Odie. And I'm trying to remember what shows she's from. She looks very familiar. She's from, if you see her, you would recognize the actress that plays her. And I didn't realize that that's who did the voice of Mama Odie until I saw her.
I didn't know either.
I have to look it up. It's from like a popular movie or sitcom or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're looking it up or not. But
Well, her name's Jennifer Lewis.
Okay.
Is her name. She does she's amazing in this particular video because she goes in and she sees it and then she starts talking to Mama Odie in Mama Odie's voice. It's crazy.
it's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, that animatronic, the fact that we're getting multiple animatronics that are like that,
And we've
inside
seen
of
multiple though.
Yeah.
We saw that. We saw Lewis. We saw Tiana. I think Tiana's mom was in the back of one. I don't know. Have we actually seen, or did I imagine that we saw all the little animals and critters? They all have names
saw some
now.
of them. We saw some of them.
Like they're very forthright about the names of the characters, and I'm hearing it everywhere. Like Apollo is the name of the raccoon. Did you know that?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's the frog has a name. Apollo's the only one I can remember because I was like, oh, that's a great name. I remember that for the raccoon, but
you know what the reason I remember is the raccoon. Okay, Rocky Raccoon. So Rocky and Apollo
Creed.
Yeah, that's
a good. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's easy way to remember. I didn't think of that, but I don't know why, but I thought of the Apollo Theater, which is
I'm
probably.
I'm sure that's probably more where it came from.
Sure,
but the way I remembered the fact that it's the raccoon. There's been some video posted of people standing in certain spots where they've been able to zoom in, and you can see where some of the critters are placed in the ride.
Cool.
It is looking increasingly beautiful. They've had the lights on at night a couple times. I think it's going to be an amazing ride. I'm looking forward to it. I think.
You know what I'm looking
really
forward to
hoping
the
I get
most?
to ride it. What's that?
I'm looking forward to that finale scene. Wondering if it's going to have the riverboat, because the riverboat. I mean, have you ever been to New Orleans?
Yeah. Well, and it's repurposed already.
When we went to New Orleans, we walked right up along the water there, and those riverboats are going back and forth. So I'm assuming they can repurpose it, use that riverboat for the third time, because it used to be part of, oh my gosh, some America Sings or something it was called.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something I saw. I don't really know the history of it. I'll do a little research and figure
I don't know
that out.
either.
I don't know if it's something I saw when I was little or not. You know what I mean? Or maybe it's something from Disneyland that they brought over.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I'm curious.
I just know that
I want to do a little research on that, because I don't remember it. Mm-hmm. Most of those things I remember from when I was little. That I don't.
The other thing I'm wondering if we get at D23, or I'm thinking we'll get at D23, and I could be wrong, but they have a massive hotel, specialty themed hotel that they have closed that they need to do something with.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if we're going to hear the next life of the Star Cruiser.
I completely forgot about that thing.
I mean,
really, I totally forgot about it.
They have full on kitchens there. They've got, I mean, everything's there.
Yeah, you always bring up the point of plumbing and kitchen, and like you might as
everything's
well
there.
use it,
so something's gonna. I have a feeling that D23 is gonna announce that too.
Yeah.
And my hope and desire is that they say we're reopening, but we're reopening it as an actual resort hotel that you can stay at. You don't have to go and cosplay.
I think that'd be a good show closer to August where we can kind of make some predictions of what we think.
Yeah.
Stuff that's separate from things that are leaking, like separate than, hey, a fifth gate. Like, for example, they're going to transform something into something else, something that they haven't announced. Like our
dreams are what we really hope happens.
Right.
And look, it was $60 billion over the next decade for parks and experiences, which includes the cruise line. So there's that.
I love that you have these numbers memorized, because my brain doesn't work like that.
So like they have all that coming, but how fast does that go? I mean, it goes. I mean, money isn't. It doesn't go as far as it used to. Not to be sound like an old codger, but that's the truth.
I'm looking at. We say this a lot. We have a monitor in the studio that we have YouTube playing on, and just tours through the parks. And I'm looking at the riverboat.
Yeah.
And it just dawned on me that we may not have Frontierland like it exists currently. We've heard some rumors of that they might actually take Pecos Bills and make it into some sort of New Orleans style restaurant.
Yeah.
But now that I'm looking at that riverboat, sure, it fits with Frontierland, absolutely. But it really fits along with that whole New Orleans theme.
Yeah.
I'm liking it. I realize that there's some people who don't, and there's people that don't like change. I don't know, man. I think it's cool.
I do too.
It's fun. I don't know. I'm not a guy who's going to watch movies over and over and over again. Okay. We talk about this a lot too. I'm not that guy. So if the park's always the same, I'm fine with that. But I also like it to be a little bit different. It's something for me to look forward to on my new trip. You know, it's always something like, okay, what's new? What am I going to check out? All right, this trip coming up, Tron, Tiana's, Moana. Like
there was a comment made by a very big influencer, Disney guy. You may know him. His name is Tim.
Yeah. So I've met him twice. Yeah, I love the guy.
Yeah. So Tim Tracker made a comment on one of his recent videos where he was like, "Oh, I think I'm going to go and do the shooting gallery since I probably won't have a lot longer to do it."
Oh, okay.
So like, but I don't know if he knows something.
Well,
but
who knows?
I mean, he knows more than we do. Let's be honest.
Well.
So, but that's something like it doesn't get used, and
it doesn't get used. It's
space.
Great real estate, and then in our current culture, people want to remove guns, and you know, despite everybody's politics listening, it's just kind of the way that our world is going. So maybe that's a reason.
Well, not only that, but it's kind of dumb. Let's be honest.
No, and you know what? You know when the last time I did that was?
Okay, so if you heard us, I was going to tell Rob. I was going to tell Rob to edit that. If you heard us both just almost panic, Rob almost just dumped like a big part of our equipment for the podcast.
I was turning my chair to throw out my bottle.
This is more of like what you get on Patreon, by the way.
Leave it in. It's fine.
Yeah, that's funny.
Okay, our point was.
Yeah, that like our point was that the shooting gallery just is kind of dumb.
Yes, that's what I said. The last time I did it was probably 1984.
Yeah, like
I know I did it and I can visualize it in my head, but I don't know.
We had one of them at our local park.
Yeah,
I tried to do it with the kids when we were on one of our earlier trips, and I remember my son being like, this is kind of dumb. I was like, yeah, it is.
Just do it on Buzz Lightyear.
I mean, there's kind of cool things like, you trigger certain things that happen, but it's nothing great. So, but we're going to head off to the halftime show. And after the halftime show, we're going to let you know what our underrated rides and attractions are.
And it's not the shooting gallery.
It's not the shooting gallery
or is it on your list?
No, it's not on my list.
Okay.
The halftime show this week is brought to you by yet another new patron. So thank you very much, Pat H. We welcome you to the Dizzlist family, and thank you for joining along. If you'd like to support us, you can go to patreon.com/DizzlistPod. I'd like to point out you can also do that for free. You do not have to be a paid member, and we do post stuff that is public and stuff there.
It's actually a very easy way to contact us, too.
Yeah, it really is. So go in and sign up over there, and you don't even have to pay. You can just be a part of the community. That's a great thing to do. And then also you can go to our apparel store, magicmerch.art or magicmerch77.etsy.com.
Maybe soon we're going to have an announcement about that, too.
Maybe?
Yeah, something, yeah.
May?
Yeah.
Huh.
You're working on something special for that.
Yeah. It's going to be May.
I've been a little busy.
Justin Timberlake?
But you've been, I'll tell the people listening, Nick has been crushing it with the t-shirt designs here. He really has. I have a ton going on with my band recently, which is good. But Nick has been picking up the slack with the t-shirt designs, and they're great. Like, it's like he doesn't even need me.
So they'll be coming out maybe soon. So
that's a hint.
Yeah. We're big Star Wars fans. Did you know that?
I am.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're going to head off to the halftime show. Thanks again, Pat H. And thank you to all of our patrons. And, of course, all of our listeners. We'll see you on the other side. Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about the top 5 things we consider to be overrated at Walt Disney World. Rob's going to try not to dump our equipment in the second half of the show.
Yeah, and you're going to try to say underrated, not overrated.
Oops, my bad.
See, now we're even.
Oh, man. I can't believe I just did that.
I can't believe I almost knocked off all our equipment on the floor.
Listen, we're not going to edit it because we're just going to roll with this. All right.
Everybody goofs.
Yeah, it's okay. You know what? They talk about how social media is bad for our children because everybody's living through a filter. Yeah. Here is us, unfiltered, no editing.
Yep.
All right. So, underrated rides are, to me, a ride that people maybe don't tell you need to go on, and then you go on and you're like, why did nobody talk about this?
Yep.
Or rides that I tell people, look, I know that nobody talks about it, but you really should go on it.
Yeah.
And I feel like Disney's got a decent number of them. it's hard because, like you said in the opening, for us, it's hard because we talk about these rides. And so we don't think of them as being underrated.
We also follow different sites on social media where we see people talk about them on a regular basis.
Right.
But
So,
not everybody does that.
correct. So I want to jump right in. What do you got?
Yeah. So my number 5 is something that I watch Shark Tank. You ever watch that show?
Yeah, absolutely.
And on Shark Tank, they talk a lot of times about how a product, it's not going to sell on the shelf unless it has to be explained. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So there's so many different products that are like that where you have to show how it works in order for it to sell. And I think that's almost what, and I actually put 2 attractions in one, and you're going to see why here. It almost needs to be explained how cool it is instead of just having a sign out front that reads Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor or Turtle Talk with Crush. Do you see why I put them together?
I do.
Because it's a similar experience where what they have is they have a giant screen and it's animated. They have a 3D animated character that interacts and talks with the crowd, which is so cool and so fun. They really find these brilliant actors and actresses who can interact with the crowd and make up this hilarious stuff on the spot based on who's in front of them. They have a general script and they have some jokes, but they always riff with the audience.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like if you're a musician and I do this, I get up on stage, I don't really have a plan. So whatever happens, like we played a show the other night and I'm kind of talking back and forth with Nick in the crowd. It was funny. So like I was talking about the Bills on stage, shockingly.
It was draft. So it was draft day.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's reasons that you were talking about.
We were all fired up on the Buffalo Bills. So Nick and I are kind of talking back and forth. But my point is, it wasn't planned. So it's the same thing here with Turtle Talk with Crush or Monsters Inc. You kind of riff off the people depending on how much they're going to come back at you, and so they're both great experiences that I'm not sure people know what they are. And I mean, especially when you enter Tomorrowland, there's just a big sign that says Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor.
Right.
Okay. But cool. That's a great sign. And you keep walking. You don't really know, but there isn't anything that says interactive comedy show. I think featuring 3-dimensional characters in the style of what you would see on the big screen.
So I think for me, this one, so Monsters Inc. is more underrated than
Turtle Talk.
Turtle Talk. Here's why. If you have children, you know about Turtle Talk with Crush. Like, go and have your kid. And I feel like those videos get posted a lot more on Instagram. I think they're both underrated. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. I just think that you're very right about Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor because I had no idea what it was. And then I went with you and I was like, oh, okay. So my goal is to basically somehow have my brother end up being that guy.
I wanted it to be you. We were really trying to have it be you. We were positioning ourselves. Yeah. Okay, you got to sit right in front of this lamp.
I know
because the lamp with the light goes on, and I think you were. I think we put you there on purpose.
Yeah, I think really when they pick that guy, it's the guy who's like just sitting on his phone, not paying attention.
Yeah.
So if you're in there ready to go, it's probably not gonna be you. But I could totally see my brother being like, "What are we doing in here?" and like get on his phone. And then have him be that guy. And he would play it up because that's how he is.
You've seen the video of me when they put me on camera.
Dancing.
And I don't remember, my daughter would know because she thought it was the funniest thing ever. They put me up on screen and it says, it was kind of like superlatives. It said most likely to do a crazy dance. Yeah. The camera went right on me and I sprung up and started just doing this crazy dance.
The fist pump dance or whatever it is.
Yeah. But my daughter laughed and that was good because I don't want to be incredibly embarrassing, but you got to go hard.
Yeah.
And she thought it was hilarious.
You got to lean into it. And you're not going to see those people again. And if you do, who cares?
It was funny.
Have fun. You're at Disney.
That's my 5. And it's 2 together. And I think listeners will agree that it's a similar experience. So I wouldn't put Monsters Inc. 5, Turtle Talk 4. To me, it's the same kind of experience. I'm looking at it as something that's interactive that not a ton of people know about. Like you said, kids do. Agree with you completely.
At least on the Turtle Talk side, they do.
But they talk, and that's why this list is hard because so many people talk about all these different aspects of the parks all the time.
I give you a pass for using 2 because I have one on my list where I've paired some things together.
Okay.
So I totally give you a pass. My number 5 is something that I didn't get to do until my last trip because it had been closed forever. And I realized immediately that it's underrated. And that is the Walt Disney World Railroad.
Oh yeah, I got that on my
Honorable mention.
Yeah, I do. That's a great one.
So here's why I think it's underrated. It's underrated because you, as a ride, you get to see the entire park. You get to go around the entire park, but it's also underrated because it's not just a ride. It is a mode of transportation.
Yep.
When your feet are just dead tired at the end of the day, hop on the railroad and go to the next stop. Whether that be you're in Fantasyland or not Fantasyland, you're in Frontierland and you want to jump on and go to Tomorrowland, or you just walked in and maybe you park hopped and you were just in EPCOT and you did a lot of walking over there and you really only park hopped in because you want to ride New Tiana.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, let's jump on right there at Main Street Station and you go.
It'll dump you right off at Tiana.
Yeah. So I think it's underrated for that, but it is underrated as an attraction in itself.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've got to believe they're going to go through and update some of the scenes. I have also heard, though, rumors that some of this new construction that they're likely to do at Disney
on the opposite side of the tracks.
But I have heard that there's a potential they have to close it down again.
Well, if they're going to expand, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So I hope it doesn't get lost. I don't think it ever will, but I hope that it can be down for a minimal amount of time if it has to go down again. But I love it. It was, it's kind of get a nice breeze too because it's open air. You get to see everything and it saves you from walking a little bit extra. If you're not in a rush, it's a great way to get where you got to go.
Well, you also get to see inside of a ride too. And that ride's closed now, so you won't be able to see it. But it was on you could see inside that grand finale scene. We just mentioned that riverboat scene in the first half of the show.
And you could also ride kind of where it goes through by Tron is kind of cool because it goes through a tunnel there. I don't know. It's a fun place. It's a fun attraction. And I love, by the way, when it's running, there's not very many redeeming qualities about Bay Lake Tower. I thought it was horrible. I think Contemporary is nice, don't get me wrong, but Bay Lake Tower as a DVC property wasn't great. But one of the redeeming qualities was hearing that whistle all day long.
All day long.
Was kind of cool.
It's soothing, definitely.
Yeah. So that's my number 5 is the Walt Disney World Railroad.
So my number 4, I've never done.
Okay. So how do you know it's underrated?
Because I've heard so much about it from you, and I never really knew it existed until the last couple of years. That's Fantasmic.
Oh.
I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah. I don't know.
How many times have I been to that park, and I didn't even know it was there?
Yeah.
That's a weird thing that I've been so many times, and I guess, 3-4 years ago, I kind of always heard the people talk about Fantasmic, had no idea where it was, and I never really sought out where it was until we started doing the podcast.
Right.
And then I literally analyze every single thing in the park, which is fine. But I think it's something underrated because how has nobody told me about this? And I've been going since, who knows, late 70s, early 80s. But I know Fantasmic wasn't in the park then.
So here's the thing.
It was part of... Yeah.
I think you... All right. So it's underrated to you. I get that. Yeah. And that's why it's on your list.
Yeah.
But I think the issue that you wouldn't have known it was there or not known about it is because it's at night, and Hollywood Studios, not everybody, but a lot of people just get I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
Right.
But I'll tell you, when you go this summer, you're going to be like, oh, wow, that was really good.
And our plan of attack for going to the parks is go early, go home, chill, eat, nap, go back hard.
Yeah.
So that's...
So you'll be able to
plan on being there at night.
Yeah.
And we've been there at night before because we were there and we saw the Star Wars projection show that they project on the Chinese theater.
Now, I will tell you that seating there can be a little bit interesting because you're kind of seating almost like I don't want to call them bleachers, but it's kind of like bleachers.
Is it?
But the seating there, what I would recommend for you is if you're planning on getting dinner at Hollywood Studios, because I know that because they have dinner packages where you get preferred seating. Look into it because you might be able to pay a prefix that also gets you, think of it as a lightning lane for seating.
Cool.
And I know you're not a table service person, but I believe at least one of the table service restaurants that does it is Sci-Fi Dine-In.
Cool.
And I know that's something you actually do want to do.
Yes.
So therefore, I don't know if that's something.
Yeah, definitely.
Just something to think about.
Definitely.
When we did Hollywood Brown Derby. I would sooner stand in the line for Fantasmic than eat at Hollywood Brown Derby again. probably in the top 5 worst letdown meals I've ever had.
That's crazy because I hear so many people raving about that place. Okay, another little call to action here. If you've had a good experience or a bad experience at the Hollywood Brown Derby, let us know, and we will chat about that. And I'm not saying you're wrong here because I haven't experienced it at all, and I'm just curious, given all of the positive.
Here's what I will say: someone recently posted what's the most overrated restaurant? They posted this on one of their Instagram stories, and I wrote in Hollywood Brown Derby, and they responded to me like within seconds, and they said, I'm looking at you, $32 salad, because that's about what they're known for, is their Cobb salad. And they were like, I 100% agree.
Wow.
Hollywood Brown Derby is not good. So at least someone agrees with me.
Then I'm not going to
outside
waste
my family.
Like I wouldn't want to waste my time. Like you telling me that, I'm like, okay, I'll just go over here to Backlot Express or I don't know.
There's way better
ABC
options.
Commissaries, good food, fresh.
Yeah, there are way better options than. I don't get it. I don't get the love of it. But some people really like it, and that's on that. That's good for them.
So I'm looking forward to Phantasmic this summer.
Cool. My number 4 is something I also introduced you to, and it's also something you didn't do. And I don't. Maybe it's on your honorable mention. Maybe it's actually on your list because you have never done it. 4 for me is Enchanted Tales with Belle.
Yeah, haven't done it yet.
So the Enchanted Tales with Belle is, for those of you who don't know, you basically go and you are the children have the opportunity to be a participant in the retelling of Belle's story. The thought that was put into like the pre-show, quote unquote, where they're assigning roles, you're getting stuff out of the wardrobe, the talking wardrobe, then like the mirror turns into like a doorway. It was really well thought out. I may or may not have been picked to be a knight in shining armor.
There's got to be video somewhere.
I have asked for that before when we brought this up on the show. I will see if I can find it. I will post it. I'm not ashamed. There is most definitely pictures with me and the other knight with Belle at the end because she takes pictures of all the people who are involved.
I know your kids listen to the show. So if I'm calling you out, not specifically by name, but you know who you are, let your mother know that we need these pictures.
So the show kind of is this, like I said, this retelling of Belle and her story. And it is so cute. And the kids get involved and they're like marching around the room and they have these parts and they're holding up these like, so there's even like the dishes and they walk around with like the dishes and they've got they're like little placards or whatever. It's just a really cute thing to do with your kids. The entire time you don't have to take pictures because it's the PhotoPass person's taking pictures in there.
Good.
At least it was the last time. Eric, correct me if I'm wrong. But it was the last time I've done it that they had a PhotoPass person in there taking the photography, doing all of that. It's just like you didn't even know where it was.
I
like,
still don't. It's back past Be Our Guest restaurant.
Yeah, kind of to the right. Yeah,
and by the what is it? The
Gastons.
The Gastons, and there's the Gaston and LeFou statue. It's back there.
Yeah, it is tucked away.
Okay.
I highly recommend if you have a daughter or son that loves that movie, or even doesn't have to love it. You need to do this. It is so much fun.
I think I'm going to bring my teens there. I think they'll think it's
super
fun.
Cute. It really is. So that's my number 4 is Enchanted Tales with Belle.
My number 3 is literally next door, and that is to the right, and that is Voyage of the Little Mermaid. I feel like Voyage of the Little Mermaid is not talked about nearly enough. There are great animatronics. There are great songs. The line is hardly ever that long. I feel like I always get right on it. And I think, man, this must be really underrated. If there's no lines, I get right on it. We have a blast. We sing along with the songs. We've named specific fish on the ride. We've done it so many times. We have like certain names, and every time we name, there's that fish. There's like a part I sing along with, and my daughter gets like annoyed, and then it turned into this play where she's fake annoyed. Like, we love it. And we even enjoyed. It's funny because we've done it a million times, and then when we were at California Adventure, it's a clone. It's the exact same ride, and my kids are like, "Let's do it." But here's the thing: it also depends on the lens that you're looking through. Okay, does everybody like The Little Mermaid? Sure. So is it underrated? What ends up happening in the Disney parks is certain rides just kind of rise to the top, and then other people just go, "Oh, I've done it," and they kind of move on from that. So that's kind of my definition of why I think this one is underrated, because I see the line being short and people overlook it, and it's fun.
Here's where as you were talking, I pulled up the My Disney Experience, okay, because I wanted to prove a point.
Sure.
What do you feel is better? Mermaid or Winnie the Pooh?
Mermaid.
Okay. Currently, as we sit here right now at noon on a weekend, Winnie the Pooh, 40-minute wait. Mermaid, 30. I agree with you. It's not on my list, and I as soon as you said it, I'm like, oh man, that's a really good one. It's not on my list, but it should have been. It's definitely.
It's got to be proximity too, because Winnie the Pooh is right like in one of your main walking areas.
I mean, maybe it's people who are like, okay, well, I don't want to go wait 60 minutes for Seven Dwarfs, so I'll go across. I mean, so the last two things we talked about, so I talked about the Enchanted Tales with Belle, which is kind of next door. You're not wrong entirely. So Gaston's is between the two, if you will.
And is that the store or that's a place where you can eat?
Gaston's is where you can eat, and there's a tower.
I know there's a store. We've been in there.
Statue.
And then there's a store that have like, I don't know,
so
like
the
statues and stuff.
Yeah. So where that is like smack dab in between the two.
Okay.
But anyway, it's 30 minutes right now for, it just dropped. It's 25 minutes now to go on Voyage of the Little Mermaid. And then you've got Enchanted Tales of Belle is 20 minutes. Like, both of those are amazing attractions that, like, why would you wait? And Disney they inflate those too. So, because they want to, under promise, over deliver?
Correct.
So, I mean, I'm with you.
It's a fun one.
It is. And it's always, I feel like the air conditioning in there is way stronger.
Yep.
Because they want to make you feel like you're going underwater.
Yeah.
And that first part where you kind of go, quote unquote,
and there's the
go
bubbles
underwater.
above you.
And we've done an animatronics show really early on, and Ursula made that list. And Ursula's a killer animatronic.
Yeah,
and
the
that's
Ariel one's
ride.
pretty good. I like that because the face is animated. It blinks. The eyes move around.
Every once in a while, the eye will be a little cross-eyed and be a little bit weird looking. But yeah. The Ursula one I think is fantastic. I think that ride. I agree with you. The musical score for that just brings me back to childhood. I think it was
great songs.
5th grade chorus. We sang Under the Sea.
Cool.
And it was probably, now thinking back, a little bit cultural appropriation because we had to do
you had to sing it in the Jamaican accent.
And I was like, now looking back, I'm like, maybe that's not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. So that's a great one. I kind of kicked myself for not bringing it up. Mine is something that is also another mode of transportation, but it goes in a circle and comes back, and that is Liberty Square Riverboat.
Oh, cool.
So
good choice.
How often do you do it?
Oh gosh, I've maybe done it once ever.
Yeah. So I love it. It's a perfect. I always like to go on it when it's like I'm done with, like, everybody's just being, that point of the day where you're like, I'm done. Like, we need to take a break. Everybody reaches that point, and you maybe aren't ready to go home or back to the hotel or wherever you're staying, but you need a break from each other. You go on that boat. The breeze is always good. You kind of go through the scenes and stuff, and the boat is big enough you can kind of spread out because there's not a lot of people on it usually. You can kind of go and spread out and just stay away from each other and just deep breath in, deep breath out, count to 10, and all of a sudden now your kid wanting every single thing of snack or every little treat or every little toy, which isn't my kids, but I'm just saying, like, those are the kinds of things I'm picturing where you're like, yep, I got to take a break. I think that is, for me, that's a perfect place to unwind and just sit back.
Well, it'd be a nice place to have a snack. Like, my first thought
Absolutely.
when you were talking about it was, let's go over to Pecos Bill's or Columbia Harbor House and grab a meal and just sit there and eat.
I mean,
your
you can
meal
get a
on
turkey
it?
leg.
Can you bring?
That was a joke.
I plan on it when I go. Can you bring like a straight up meal onto the boat? Like you could probably bring turkey leg, ice cream bar, whatever. I'm sure that's fine. I wonder if they would let you bring like your tray and everything from
You're pushing
Pecos
it, man.
Mills.
You're pushing it.
And then that's where you eat. I mean, wouldn't that be a great way to eat?
Sure, maybe. I was thinking more along the lines of like pretzel. But yeah, if you want to take like tacos.
I think our listener friend Eric, who's a cast member, works in that area. Let me know if you've ever seen anybody bringing a straight up meal.
I'm sure he's seen someone doing it. Let's be honest. 'Cause, like people do some crazy stuff.
Well, I don't know if I'd actually do it, but it'd be a good place to just sit and have like a cool drink at least.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. And it's, I get that it's not a ride that you're going to bring your kids on to get excited, but it's relaxing. You get to see things. They have some of the scenes that are like some of the same scenes you see from the railroad, like those. Yeah, they don't move or whatever. But
the Native American scenes.
Some of them are a little bit off color a little bit at this point, but there are other ones that aren't, and they're kind of cool. But I just like going out there, and I've also heard this is another one where it's like I don't know how much longer you're gonna have that, not in its current form.
Yeah.
So you might wanna. That might be one if you haven't done it. Or if you are like, I know I don't do it every trip, and I really should.
I don't know, though. If they transform that, like I said earlier, if they transform it to New Orleans, they might make that stay on purpose and change the track.
What I'm saying is, yes, exactly. I'm saying that there is a chance that it will be abbreviated, is what I've heard.
Or if Tom Sawyer Island becomes something else.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's my number 3 is the Liberty Square Riverboat. I do wish it had multiple drop-off points the way that the railroad does, but it doesn't, so it is what it is.
What if it had a drop, like you drop down like you do
on that riverboat?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
As soon as you said that, I'm like, oh, just like in Pirates.
That's a huge boat to do that with. That's a huge boat.
Okay.
All right. So are we already at 2?
Number 2 popped in my head last night, and I went, oh man. I go, this is so underrated, and I absolutely love it. No one talks about this. And it's awesome. It could have even been my number 1 here. The aquarium.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I mean, I don't even think of it as
That's an attraction.
Yeah, no, I don't even think of it as underrated because I love it so much. Yeah. You're right.
Nobody talks about the aquarium.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Listen, it's better than some aquariums I've paid admission to.
So good. We love it.
Yeah.
It's super quiet and relaxing.
Listen, at the risk of ostracizing like any of our listeners who live in Cleveland, I have spent more time in the aquarium in Disney that you're speaking of
than the Cleveland aquarium.
The Cleveland aquarium I paid admission for. I was like, what is this? And I was out in like 15 minutes.
Was it just a fishbowl?
It was pretty bad. In fact, our school took a trip, our band trip. They went to Cleveland. They went to the aquarium. I go, oh, I won't spoil it for you. Just let me know when you get back. And they came in. They go, what was that? I was like, exactly.
Just a fishbowl.
And a tortoise. There's a big old tortoise there, and that's it.
Okay.
It's interesting. Anyway, so
I don't think I've been there.
If you are from Cleveland and are like, I'm wrong, okay, I'm sorry. You have a great zoo, by the way.
And you got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is amazing too.
Yeah.
Have you ever been there?
I haven't.
Oh man, that is good.
Yeah, I've been by it, and every time I'm there, I'm staying in a different part of the city.
I got to get the band to play out there, and then you can come along.
Cool. So for me, that aquarium, I agree. That's a really good one.
Yeah, it just popped in my head. There's not a lot to say about it other than it's great. It's quiet. And side note, we also love to go see Lil Joe.
Lil Joe.
Lil Joe is the manatee that my kids have adopted. And we're always nervous, and I always ask somebody who's been there recently, is Lil Joe still alive? Because my kids, I'm telling you right now, my kids will both cry. Both my son and daughter will cry when Lil Joe dies because they've adopted Lil Joe as their own. Yeah. And they bought manatee stuffed animals. They love Little Joe. And Little Joe is in a separate tank. He's not in the giant aquarium. You can go and, they feed him lettuce and they talk about Little Joe. And there's another one who I can't remember, but for some reason, they just latched onto Little Joe. Yeah. Little Joe is the best.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it, so I know exactly what you're talking. I've seen your kids with it.
Yeah.
It's, what else is underrated about this is that it's probably the best, like, post-attraction exit shop.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because like you get off of Nemo and like
It's
you walk out
bright,
and you walk out and you're like,
carpet.
wait, I went through Nemo, which was a ride about Nemo, and and those were real fish, and now I can go look at the real fish.
Yeah.
And then you can go upstairs in that one spot in the round, and sometimes they're feeding the fish if you catch it at the right time. And I agree with you. It's a really good one. I don't ever think of it as underrated because I love it so much. But
it was my number one. I ended up switching it with something else because I felt weird having aquarium being number one. But it's awesome. We love the whole Seas Pavilion is so cool. So
I agree. It's a good spot. My number 2 is going to be no shock to people who know me and know my love for this attraction, and people who skip it, people who are like, that's boring. I don't even want to talk to you. I'm just kidding. We can still talk. And currently there's an overlay. That's an Alice in Wonderland overlay of this.
Really?
And it is Living with the Land.
I didn't know they had an Alice in Wonderland over. I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. And unless somebody is messing with me and sent me a reel that is like got AI all over it, it has like this Alice in Wonderland overlay. Now I feel like an idiot because I'm like, wait a second, is that real? But I'm pretty sure it's real. And I'll tell you, I don't even care. It's so much fun to go on that. And when you do the Behind the Seeds tour, which is like $35, it like your appreciation for that goes even higher because like I'll give you one little snippet of something they tell you.
Sure.
There is no soil at all in Living with the Land.
Sand and hydroponics, so it's water.
So the sand, so there's no soil. There's substrate, but there's no soil.
Huh.
And they like some of the plants they have there that you and I would have for a season.
Yeah.
They're like 4 and 5 years old.
Wow.
It's crazy. But yeah, I love it. I'm not a huge fan of the early part of it where you're going by the farmhouse. I like the greenhouse part. I don't like the farmhouse with the dog that doesn't stop barking because it just bugs the heck out of me from when I'm eating upstairs. But it is what it is.
And make sure you yell "Go Bills" when you see the bison.
Yeah, go Bills. Yeah. So I love Living with the Land. I think that it's quintessential EPCOT.
Here's what you need for your next trip.
Yep.
I'm going to call you out a little bit, but I know you'll be into it. You need a shirt. We need a picture of you with a Living with the Land shirt. Just big Living with the Land logo, whatever the regular logo is, standing out in front of the Land Pavilion with a big smile on your face. I want that picture. That would be awesome.
You want me wearing a
Living with the Land shirt, standing in front of the Land Pavilion with all the greenery and the rocks there, outside, not inside, because the mural's cool too, but I feel like that's the shirt you got to wear when you go. That would make for an awesome picture. I mean, that's kind of emerged as like one of your big favorites on this show.
Yeah.
Like I became well known early on for Haunted Mansion and Country Bears.
Yeah.
This is becoming one of your big dogs.
Absolutely.
Here.
Yeah. We can work on something.
Which I know this is off track a little bit, but it's perfect timing to talk about our 100th episode coming up. That's another good thing to do. So send a list of what you think, which attractions Nick loves them. Maybe 3. Let's say what's the top 3 that he loves.
Or you
Mine's
too.
easy. What's my number 3 though?
I think yeah. Go ahead. Send us what you think of our favorite rides, or just send us like things you're like things that you believe are hot takes that we have that shouldn't be.
Right.
Our disagreements, like Living with the Land. Really? Why do you like Living with the Land? That's fine. That's cool.
Or me saying they're going to add a 5th gate, and you saying they're not.
There's no way.
Or
well, there's 5% way.
Mayo and mustard. Another classic hit. Mm-hmm. We'll have to bring that back for the 100th episode.
Yeah, absolutely. It is real, by the way. It's for Flower and Garden. They're doing
cool.
There's I think there was a Little Mermaid scene in there too, and there's a picnic table with Winnie the Pooh and Alice in Wonderland tea party is set up inside.
Cool.
So it's not just a strict Alice in Wonderland.
That Alice in Wonderland ride at Disneyland, it would be so easy to just copy and paste that into EPCOT.
Yeah.
Because it's a dark ride, but they put a couple updates in it. So there's some projection. It's pretty. Oh, I'm looking at it now. That's really cool.
Yeah.
The colors are great too.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry, I just showed Rob a picture of the Alice in Wonderland overlay or the tea party.
That's cool.
So that's my number 2 is Living with the Land. Now I'm interested to hear because you kind of told us you moved the aquarium from number 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
What if we match up? I don't. We might. We might. Tell me right away. All
Okay,
right?
I'll tell you.
I'm gonna jump right in and tell you what it is.
Go ahead.
You tell me if it's your number one. Muppet Vision.
No, that is definitely got bumped from my list by the railroad.
Muppet Vision rules.
Muppet Vision's my
for
number 6.
so many reasons.
Yeah, Muppet Vision's good.
Nobody goes back there. There are animatronics, really good animatronics. The 3D's not awful. It's actually better 3D than in, I was talking about it last week, PhilharMagic. It's
was good.
way better.
100%.
And I think it means that much more to me knowing that was literally the last project that Jim Henson worked on. That was his last project before he passed away. So that's a very, very special attraction there.
You're missing one very important thing about going there.
Sure.
Sweetums.
Oh, they're right. They have a
So
live.
don't just have-
Sweetums runs around as a live character. God, I love Sweetums. See, that'd be a cool shirt to wear too to the park.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to not wear Star Wars when you're going to Hollywood Studios.
So this was number 5, and then I was like, nope, railroad's higher. So this is like,
love it.
This is definitely on my honorable
I
mention.
love the Muppets.
100%. They are, yeah.
My son and I, when we were stuck at home through quarantine, we started watching episodes of the Muppets, and there were certain ones. There was only certain ones that are available for us to watch on Disney Plus.
Yep.
And then there were some that I don't know if they were blocked out or why they didn't have the rights to those episodes. And I did some hard, like, deep dive research on the internet, found them, like, downloaded them, because the one I wanted to watch so bad was the Mark Hamill Star Wars episode.
Yeah.
It's awesome because 3PO is on it, R2 is on it. It's a great episode.
Yeah.
And I wonder, I'm going to look actually while you're following up here to see if on Disney Plus, if they have added the remainder of the episodes, like the Star Wars Mark Hamill episode. Now, I know you like the Muppets too.
Yeah.
Are you a big Muppet fan like I am?
I love the Muppets. I'm not number one underrated ride. Love that ride.
I am.
But it is definitely underrated. I think that part of the park is criminally underused and underutilized. And I would rather them just say, like, because I almost feel it's worse what they're doing, that they're doing just that.
Yeah.
To me, just get rid of it so I don't even realize you're mistreating them. They have done so many bad things to me for disrespecting the Muppets, like taking out the little show that was in Liberty Square in Magic Kingdom.
Oh, with
The Sam Eagle.
yeah, but then they have the whole Muppet. Did you ever get to see the Muppet show that they did there?
Yeah, in the windows.
Were you there? That's not when we went together.
No.
I saw it. I think it was a year before we went.
No,
together.
I've seen that one. Yeah,
it's awesome.
And they canceled it, and now they don't. It's not back. And they're never going to bring it back. Like, I think that they don't treat the Muppets with the respect they deserve.
No, it's an underrated property for sure.
We have said multiple times in this show that that's what they should retheme Rock and Roller Coaster to.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, and but Electric Mayhem would be awesome.
Oh my gosh, Elton John was a guest on the Muppets. Yeah. So they have seasons 1 through 5.
It was Saturday Night Live for kids.
They have seasons 1 through 5 here.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the episode. I should probably go. It's probably 1978.
Yeah.
Because it was after, or maybe it was, oh gosh.
Either way.
I'm trying to find that actual episode. Wouldn't that be crazy if I'm like searching all over for this episode and that one is not available? Which wouldn't make sense because Disney owns Lucasfilm now.
I don't know. It's at the risk of cutting you off from thrilling content while you scroll through your
found
phone.
it. The Muppets Welcome Star Wars / Mark Hamill. It is episode 17 of season 4.
Okay, so go find that.
It is so funny.
It is a very good one.
Mark Hamill singing is he does the most hilarious bit.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Go watch that.
Yeah, it actually is a really, really good episode.
Really funny.
All right, so that brings me to my number one. My number one, I kind of teased it earlier. I said to you that I had one that I doubled up.
You did. You lumped a couple things together.
Right. So I took 2 things in one park and put them together.
You put Mission Space Orange and Mission Space Green together.
Those are so underrated. I'm kidding. No way.
No.
I think that as a collective, Maharaja Jungle Trek and Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail
choice.
are underrated.
Heck yeah. I love it.
Because
I'm with you.
So we have a listener / patron / friend, and like Dizless family person, and she made a post earlier this week that she couldn't agree more, and she actually thanked us for like convincing her that Animal Kingdom is not a half-day park.
Yeah, you got to just chill, man.
And like
you got to just go slow, enjoy it.
So if you're gonna rope drop, right? So you go to Animal Kingdom, you rope drop. You're rope dropping Flight of Passage,
Probably.
you rope drop. You're doing those things.
Yeah.
What I'm here to tell you is, if you really want the Animal Kingdom experience, the experience that I suspect is why locals enjoy the park as much as they do.
Yeah.
Is
I feel like there's so many Ear Scouts videos where he's there.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
It's his favorite ride.
I know.
Expedition Everest.
Yeah.
So, but the reason I think that people like it who live there is because you don't feel the need to rush to do those rides, and you can just go when it's still quiet and the animals are still moving around because it's not 100 bajillion degrees.
And there's so many cool things. Trails. It's a zoo. It's an immersive environment is next to the zoo. Like, but they don't want to call it a zoo though. Yeah. But that's part of it.
The best decision that we made on our last trip was to go 2 days. One day we had Genie Plus and we rope dropped, and we did everything that we wanted to do by granted, there's only 6 rides, but we did everything we wanted to do by, I want to say it was 1:30. Mm-hmm. That includes the Lion King show, and whatnot. And then the next day was let's just chill and walk through the trails. Best decision I've made.
Great.
Because walking through those trails when everybody else is rushing to Flight of Passage or doing whatever, and it's not 120 degrees, you're going to see more active animals. Yep. You're going to see... Now, there's one ride I will never not do, which is I always have to do the safari. But as far as the underrated attraction, in my opinion, the number one underrated attraction, something that people overlook or they say, I don't get it or I don't want to do it. If you're not doing the trails and truly taking it in, you're not doing it right.
Mm-hmm. It's awesome.
And I understand that you probably do the trails because if you showed up to Animal Kingdom, there's only 6 rides. But at the same time, take a second to not be walking through it grumpy that there's only 6 rides. Walk through it with the idea of look at how amazing the conservation that's going on here. Because those animals aren't there because they were bred for Disney. They were either they were bred while they were there to try to increase the population of those that species, or they're rescues. It is actually quite amazing. That's why I highly recommend doing any kind of tour.
You want to talk about the rhinos tour you did?
I can. Yeah, the rhinos tour is amazing. I want to. It's cheaper. I want to do the elephant one too. It's on the cheaper side. It's $40 or something like that, and it's about an hour and it might be an hour and a half, but it's not. It's a good chunk of time. And you go backstage, and it's you can't have cameras. It is straight up, you are backstage. So I would love to show you pictures of my kids petting a rhino, but that is not allowed.
Sometimes that's better, though.
I agree. I
used to bring my big point and shoot camera. I got a really nice one. Then eventually I was well, okay, and take a picture with my phone here or there. Use PhotoPass.
There is a quote by one of my favorite musician. So this guy by the name of Gord Downey. I was at a show, and he was making fun of all the people who were taking pictures of him. And he basically said, I never thought I'd live to see a generation who takes a picture of the moment so they can live in the moment later rather than live in the moment ever. Mm-hmm. And that's very true. Yep. I was kind of glad that we didn't have our cameras out, but I do wish for our listeners they could see what it's like. It is a remarkable tour. It's definitely. I think I want to do all the tours of Animal Kingdom, but we're going to be doing at the lodge. We're going to be doing the nighttime safari, which is going to be fun. But yeah, the trails. I think that if you're going to Animal Kingdom and not doing the trails, skipping the trails, and Discovery Island's trails are okay too. I think you're doing it wrong if you don't do the trails.
I wonder if you ever done a GoPro.
Have I?
I wonder if there's a GoPro that has a night mode on it that might be cool for the your night tour there over at Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Possibly. I mean, I can look into it. Yeah.
You can get them actually pretty cheap now. I mean, I have one. I don't use it very often, but
Yeah, I can look into it.
I forgot about that. That might be fun to wear like on stage sometime at a show.
So that was my number one. We have some honorable mentions, I think you have.
Yep.
Okay.
Sometimes I feel like Everest is underrated. Not really enough to be on my list, but I feel like people skip over it sometimes. And it's one of my favorite rides there is. Not enough people, I feel like, talk about it a lot. And we make fun of it too, Disco Yeti, but I don't think it deserves to be on the list, but people need to talk about it a little bit more. It's a fantastic ride for so many reasons. And then, ironically, the one I put next is the Barnstormer, which really doesn't suck. Like, it's super short, but if it's a short line, it's fun. Not a lot of people talk about Barnstormer.
That's on my list.
It's not bad.
It's on my list.
Carousel of Progress, that's underrated. Tiki Room, like those shows. Not a lot of people talk about them as much. I mean, the diehards like us, we love them.
Yep.
We go back, but again, I'm looking in the lens of everybody. Like, you could walk right by the Tiki Room and just think it's this kind of cool tower with the thatch roof, and you don't know there's a show in there or whatever. And then I had Railroad, which we talked about earlier too, and Living with the Land. So it was hard to really come up with any other things. Like, I mean, I made a joke earlier about Mission Space. It's just such garbage.
Yeah, I don't think that's underrated.
No, like I was going through in my head, and so many things are rated properly. Like they are well deserved. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the only one I would say that I would probably add to an underrated list, besides the ones I've already mentioned, I do think that the shows like Hall of Presidents in particular,
I know you love that one.
And here's the thing. Those animatronics are very well done for as old as they are. And I do think it's a fun show. So there's that. And there's one that I know that you might not agree with, but I think especially on a hot day, and it's one of the very few attractions that has one of the Fab Five, and that would be Grand Fiesta Tour.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Philhar Magic.
No.
Grand Fiesta Tour's fine. Like,
I think that's underrated.
I know you don't love it anymore, but I also, if someone says, "Hey, we're gonna go ride it," I'm like, "Cool, let's do it."
Yeah.
Like, that's my response. It's not, "Oh, I hate that." Like, it's okay.
But when you think of like the original, like the real big hitter characters, right? You got Goofy's got Barnstormer. You got Donald with Grand Fiesta Tour, and only until recently did
Mickey and Minnie get their own
ride.
Well, like Philhar Magic doesn't count.
And Mickey and Minnie got their own ride, but they made that where Daisy is too. And I mean, Donald's there.
No, Daisy is a big part of that. That's true.
So it's really the whole Fab Five there. Actually, it's even got Pluto. So what was that called? The something 6? I forget what they call that. But
there should be a Pluto ride, and there needs to be a Clarabelle ride. I think that'd be cool.
Oh my God, Clarabelle ride would be
hilarious.
Awesome.
Wouldn't that be funny to do something with Clarabelle?
That would be.
They do, like, you see Clarabelle in the parks.
Yeah.
That's the cow for those of you who are saying, who's Clarabelle? And if someone's saying, who's Clarabelle, it means they need to maybe do more with it. There's not enough cartoons. Oh, gosh.
It's almost like they could maybe.
The horse? Is it Horace the horse?
Yeah. It's almost like they could possibly, like, I don't know, build a park just centered around those cartoon characters.
Well, maybe that's what they're going to do for Fifth Gate.
Could you imagine?
Maybe it's Toontown. Maybe Toontown is its own park.
A whole park.
Well, I mean, they already have a good chunk of it. They could put Roger Rabbit in there. They could put whatever the other mini roller coaster is. I think it's the Donald one. I don't know. It was right there. I can't even remember. And Runaway Railway is part of it in Disneyland. But what if Toontown was just a park?
Yeah.
A mini park.
Why not? It could be a
all
full-size
kids'
park,
rides.
yeah. The other thing I'll say is underrated in general is the live entertainment. Don't be so quick to just rush past Dapper Dan's, the Jameters. Take the time to enjoy those.
The parades.
I have never been more impressed with in-park entertainment as I was sitting in that, I don't even know, the vestibule or whatever you want to call it, at the American Pavilion, listening to Voices of Liberty.
Yeah, it was awesome.
You want to talk about amazing artistry. Dapper Dans are so much fun.
They're fun. I just love that style of music. It fits with the park so well.
Just stopping at Casey's Corner and listening to the piano player. Don't be so in a rush. And I get it. It's hard. It's easy for me to say because I keep going back. It's very easy for me to say, when you're going back every time that it's okay to stop and smell the roses, so to speak.
You can stand there for 30 seconds. That's
Yes.
a good chunk of time to take it in and experience it.
Correct.
And then move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Or get Genie Plus so you know when you arrive and just stop and chill. And
yeah, the live entertainment, I believe, is also underrated. But that's kind of my list. Anything you had to add or?
No.
Okay.
I mean, to be honest, it's not a hard list, but it's not an easy list because so many things are not over or underrated.
Yeah.
You know, everything is kind of like, that's good. Most people agree. We're talking about something that makes billions of dollars because it's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's very hard. I mean, we can be critical, and we are, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's fun either way. It's, you know.
I hope
if you're listening this far in, you love the parks like we do.
Yeah.
And you'll hear about the same stupid stuff all the time. And we don't care. We'll talk about it. And you just keep listening.
Well, I hope this is what you were looking for when you reached out and requested this. So I thank you. And just because, it's fresh in my mind, this was a requested show, which means we love to do those request shows. Let us know. Because a lot of times we think we've recorded something and we don't even bring it up. And then we realize, oh, shoot, we haven't.
Or we do it again.
Yeah.
Like
we update our list.
I really want to hear top 5 favorite attractions at Epcot. Okay.
Cool.
Sounds good, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do it again.
What are your favorite quick service restaurants? Okay.
Yep.
I'm fine.
Yeah. Snacks.
Yeah. Sure.
So let's, first of all, thank you so much. And let's also remind you once more. Now, Rob already mentioned it once, but I'm going to say it again.
Well, if it
reach out.
Yeah, it came up in conversation pretty well.
Reach out
organically.
You can email us, dislistpodcast@gmail.com. You can reach out on social media at dislistpod, pretty much everywhere. You can go to Patreon, www.patreon.com/dislistpod. Follow us, friend request us, whatever that particular platform does. Do those things. Send us a message that is just like I said, the roast or toast your host. And I've gotten some great messages so far. I'm really excited. This show is going to be a blast. Some people have told us things that I'm like, I don't remember what episode that is, but that is hilarious that you picked that out.
Wow.
So like
I can't wait.
Yeah, the problem is like I want to include some of the snippets and like there's 100 episodes, dude. I can't go through and find all the stuff.
Well, there's one we have to find for sure.
Yeah.
That we talk about almost every single episode.
So we will definitely be reading those on that show, and we're the time is getting close. So please let us know any of your memories of the Diz List. We would love to hear.
You know what I was just thinking about in my
What's
head?
that?
If it's really long, it's the 100th episode, and then the 101st episode is still just the 100th episode part 2, and then we go to episode 102.
That would be kind of funny. It's like when somebody.
I think that's a funny only to me thing.
Yeah,
which
it's like when somebody ties and they're like first place, and then the next person's third place.
Yep.
So, yeah, we could just have
anyway
100th take 2.
You were looking at me like, what are you thinking about? Because there was like this pause for a second, and I'm just like, well, I guess only funny to me. Anyway, we're good. We can wrap it up now. Sorry.
All right. Well, thank you again for listening and following along, and we really appreciate all your support. But it's been a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, and tomorrow is just a list away.
Tune in next time, and we'll see you real soon.